Rick and Morty comic Lil P Superstar Chapter 4. We start out seeing that Mr. P is literally trapped on a chair, and yet these guys have the gall to accuse Summer of kidnapping him. How are they not prosecuted when he was clearly protesting? If they actually thought he had something wrong with him earlier, why didn't they bring him to a psychiatrist? After tedious patting, some bad guy, girl, tells her goons to tighten his restraints. And she reveals that she wasn't able to get rich because even though he signed contracts and made movies, he walked out without warning. At least it makes sense that she'd be angry about this. So this is a villain that makes sense. He points out that she wasn't letting him quit, which is illegal. They can't do that to a celebrity. If that could happen, I'm pretty sure news would come out immediately and the boss would get in trouble. Actors have retired in real life just fine, but this story would have you believe they wouldn't be able to and that everyone would refuse to let them. It's at least interesting that Cecilia keeps suddenly shouting at him, losing her cool. It's good for a villain. She says that because she's his agent, she owns him and he has to do what she says. I don't think agents are literally the slave owners of actors. I don't care if this is an alien planet, that'd still be illegal. They still have human brains, don't they? There's a reason laws get made. I feel like the scene is dragging on. It's just a talking head scene, where the character can't do anything. She says that their schedule is now fully booked out with movies, TV appearances, and commercials. I'm assuming she'll have guns aimed at him the whole time to try to force him not to run away, so that he won't be restrained to a chair the whole time, unable to act, making people uncomfortable. But wouldn't it be impossible for him to hide his fear and reluctance when he's trying to act? Wouldn't that make people uncomfortable? I feel like we could have just had a few panels of the scene. It really didn't need to drag out multiple pages. Oh, finally it's pointed out. Now I was wondering if he had gone to the bathroom yet because he can't do that when trapped on a chair. So he says he can't act on a full bladder. But of course reality sets in because he's supervised in the bathroom. He convinces him to look away from him to give him some privacy, and I can't really blame him for agreeing. Mr. P wonders how he's going to get out of this mess. He's confused that they keep only lipstick in their bathroom cabinet. That's hard to believe. Well, I like that the guy's talking like a shy, relatable fan of his, saying that he's sorry he doesn't want to act anymore and he thinks he's special. But he loses sympathy when you remember that he's not helping him escape. So the claim that he's a big fan of his sounds pretty hollow. He still cares more about himself than him. It wouldn't be so bad if he told him that he thinks he'll get fired if he didn't do what his boss said. And maybe the economy sucks so much that he can't get another job. Mr. P creatively thinks about drawing a six-pack on his chest with lipstick to make him too afraid to approach him. But wouldn't it be immediately obvious that's just lipstick because it's red? What if he assumes it's blood instead? At least he's a sympathetic protagonist. He's also smart enough to realize he can't fit down the toilet. And naturally, the guy starts to get suspicious because he didn't hear any sounds on the toilet. And Mr. P throws a cactus pot at his head. But somehow, that doesn't knock him out. When just one issue ago, we saw that Summer's mere punch was enough to knock out a guard. So I assumed that the members of his species had really soft heads. I think a thrown pot would be a lot more likely to knock someone out. That's ignoring the fact that knocking someone out isn't nearly as easy in real life. It's usually just a few seconds from a hit to the head, if even that. But somehow he doesn't even seem hurt. This is the kind of thing you'd expect from a kids' series. But this series isn't afraid to show gore. He hears a crash, and then we see Summer threatening Cecilia with a gun, asking where he is. Wait a minute. How did she know exactly where to go? Oh, right, that spaceship she conveniently knew where Mr. P was, and automatically took her there. That was such a confusingly convenient thing she didn't earn at all that it must have not registered in my memory. Because Summer was merciful enough to not simply kill all the bad guys in the room, they had the time to grab Mr. P by the arm because they stood there talking to each other. Rick would have done a better job, so Summer deserves better than this. Cecilia easily knocks the gun out of her hand, and she easily wriggles out of her grip. And at least the writer has her lampshade that she needs to tighten her grip, but this still makes me angry. A goon smirks unlikably while aiming a gun at her. And while expecting Mr. P to simply attack him, Instead, he does the stupidest thing ever in the situation and runs towards her. Now, she stupidly stood as still as a statue the whole time, and somehow managed to say 2 entire sentences after the ray gun was fired without the ray ball hitting anything. That's the slowest moving projectile ever. So how does it not just fall down from gravity? After a brief fake-out death, it turns out they shot his top hat off. And again, they waste time having a forced friendship moment because Summer's desperately lonely, I guess. When it's the middle of a serious situation. Out of complete nowhere, Cecilia says that his top hat is his main appeal, as opposed to his niceness. And without it, he's nothing. Why doesn't she consider buying him a new top hat? Replicating his old one perfectly. Is this gonna be the Deus Ex Machina explaining why she leaves him alone from now on? Because this is Rick and Morty. Summer could have simply shot her and it would have made more sense. Her surviving this story after all the deaths in the series would be aggravating. Summer lampshades that he's more than his hat. And somehow they don't try to stop her from making a portal and getting him to her room. Again, how did she have a portal gun? The hat she found in her cell wasn't his, obviously. So it wasn't like she found his hat, which hid Rick's portal gun. Then Summer lamely tells him that she wants him at her high school dance tomorrow. Shouldn't it be really obvious to her that she'll be humiliated if she shows up with them? He's a small alien with a lame voice and catchphrase. Didn't she care too much about becoming popular in season 1? I guess she actually avoided as of amnesia, and we were actually supposed to believe she learned her lesson from that permanently. That's impressive. All of these saccharine moments between them are not hitting the heartwarming emotional beat that they want to. She barely spent any time with this guy as far as we've seen. Then we cut to night where Jerry's holding something and quietly brags to himself that no one knows where he was tonight. But then Rick reveals he was waiting for him to come home, without having passed out drunk by now, and without sitting in front of the TV. How bored was he staring at the door while waiting for him? I can't imagine anyone putting up with that without at least listening to some music or something. He doesn't care about Jerry. Why would he care about this? I guess he's doing this because he's really bored of his life. He turns on the light as Jerry conveniently drops what he's holding for no reason. It'd make more sense for Rick to just kick him. He takes a bit too long to open the box, which has never looked like a box. It's clearly a spherical oval container. And it turns out he's hiding cupcakes with his family's faces decorated on them. Aww. I expected something actually embarrassing, but it turns out the writer was more creative than that. Instead, he showed that he loved his family, for once. It's so rare that when it does happen, it seems out of character. Because usually just self-absorbed, to the point of being a dirty coward. He reveals that he joined a baking class at a night school. And Rick laughs at him for no reason, even though he's supposed to be smart. Any smart person would know that baking is a talent, not something to be ashamed of. And that gender roles are arbitrary social constructs he doesn't need to respect. If he says that morality is just a social construct, and that's why he ignores it, well, obviously that's just an excuse. A smart person would just be impressed. I expect him to say, huh, you managed to do something right for once. The story ends with an ending I like, as Rick says to the Rick cupcake that he'll keep him forever, finding it adorable with creepy looking eyes. What really makes it good is that he's not just looking egotistical, he actually seems to think it's cute. And since when does Rick think anything's cute? Well, I must have thought a baby Morty was cute because I saw him holding him in the show. The point is, it was nice of him to appreciate something Jerry did. So maybe he was just lying when he made fun of him for baking something. It's just a cover. This story was about a whole bunch of padding where Mr. P wonders how he could escape a tense kidnapping scenario, where Cecilia wastes time telling us that she wants to exploit him for money, far longer than she needed to. And then finally Summer shows up, somehow, after the writers showed some creativity, making him try to come up with different escape plans. Summer was lucky to even get here. She was still incompetent by not shooting all of them dead right away, which Cecilia would have deserved. So many character deaths in the series, and she gets spared? Cecilia somehow escaped her grip and made her lose her gun, and she just stood there like a statue, and he did the stupidest thing ever to try to save her. Somehow outrunning a ray gun ball. And then there's a Deus Ex Machina where Cecilia gives up on him because a replaceable hat got shot by the world's slowest moving projectile. This ending was a pile of contrivances. How did the thrown pot not even hurt that guy? This isn't a kid's series, so why are they trying to avoid character deaths and injuries at all costs? And I was bewildered to see that there was another chapter of this. It has to be better than the last arc.